Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a WhatsApp voice note that I received. Some of the voice notes, they are quite scary, but this is the narration. The narration reads like this. Hello, Brother Nash, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am the last born in our family. My father, he used to be in the army. As a matter of fact, there was this other war that happened in DRC. So a lot of guys that were in the army in our country, they went and they fought in that war in DRC. My father, he was amongst those soldiers that went to fight in DRC. So my father, he wanted me to become a soldier, but I didn't want to be a soldier. Then he said that I was too weak because all of my brothers, they are all in the army, as well as my sister. She is married to a man who is a soldier, but she is a police woman. So this is the thing that happens in our family. As for my mother spoiled me a lot because as the last born, I am the one who is supposed to remain in the village to take care of the house that was built by my father. So she would spoil me each and every time. When she was still alive, when my brothers will send money back home, I will actually steal that money. Before I would have given her the money, I would try some hustles. Some of the hustles were good, some of them were bad. But when I will have a bad hustle, when I will lose the money, my mother will just say that it is fine. A lot of time, Brother Nashi, I was stealing money from my mother. And since I had known that my grandfather, my father's father, he was a ritualist, I then said that if there was someone in my bloodline who was a ritualist, then what will make me pretend like I am someone that is holy? I do not have holy blood. I have blood of a ritualist. My grandfather was a ritualist, so be it. Let me be called an evil man. I do not care. I want to become like my grandfather. That is how I started going around visiting some traditional healers, and I want to give people a warning that out there are fake people that will tell you that they can give you money, but they will be lying to you. I once visited this other man that we call Tsikamtanda or witch hunters. That man, Brother Nash, as he was holding his walking stick, that walking stick of his, when he threw it into the air, it was suspended in the air, and there was an invisible hand that was playing around with that walking stick. At that time, I had stolen $100 from my mother, and I gave it to that witch hunter when he said that he was going to make me a very rich man, but it was just a lie. He was lying to me. Then there was a time when my elder brother's wife had given birth, so my mother traveled to Harare to be with my elder brother's wife to assist her with the newborn. So I was left all alone in the village. I then went to this other traditional healer. She was an old woman. She only had one tooth, and she was that kind of an old person that is always laughing. This woman then said that, so you want to become a ritualist? I then said, yes, I want to become a ritualist. She then said that it will require the blood of your mother. I said, my mother, I can't sacrifice my mother. Then she said, leave my shrine because I have other people to assist. So I sat outside and I started crying because I wanted to become rich. Then they came this man, this wealthy man, and when he got out of his car, he saw me. I was sitting outside of that woman's consultation room. When he was waiting for his own turn, he came to the place where I was sitting and he sat right next to me. He asked me why I was crying. I told him, and he laughed at me and he said, son, do you know that in my car there is a dead person's head? I said, what are you talking about? Man then said that he had gone to Mozambique, where he went and he bought the head of a dead person because it is required for the rituals. He said that I killed my mother, I killed my father, I killed my wife and kids. I do not have any mercy because for you to have money, you need to show no mercy. When I went back into that consultation room, this woman then gave me a root. She told me that I was supposed to swallow that root. Whenever I would try to push that root into my mouth, I will start to vomit, until she said that you are not strong, you are weak. You want something that is easy. There is nothing that is easy in life, because even the Bible says that a man has to work very hard so that he can have something on his table. That traditional healer then said that as for you, you are only going to work hard for only one time, then you are going to enjoy for the rest of your life. Brother Nash, I kept on pushing that root into my mouth, vomiting and trying again and again. When she lost patience with me, I then forced myself, my brother. When I forced myself, then I started to suffocate because this thing, it was now blocking me on my throat. She then rushed and she took some herbs and she mixed the herbs with water. She came to the place where I was kneeling down, struggling to breathe. My eyes were wide open as I was gasping for air. She then forced the water into my mouth and I was able to breathe again. But that root, that was when I felt that it was moving. It started moving slowly, like a worm, as it was going down my throat into my chest area, and I felt it settling down in my intestines. Even right now, Brother Nash, whenever I poo, I do have a very beautiful house with bathrooms and stuff, but I am not allowed to poo straight into the toilet. What I have to do is that I have this other small metal sheet that I got designed for myself. Then each and every time when I want to poo, I then go into my bedroom as I am doing the rituals. Then I poo. Then I have to use my hands to open up my poo and to look at my poo. Then I go into the forest and I throw it into the forest. This other day when I was at the Eastgate Mall, I had diarrhea, my brother. I went back home. I drove back home so fast and I went to my bedroom and then I started to poop and I saw that there were some roots in my poop. This is what happens to me sometimes, Brother Nashi, when I feel like I want to poop, when I do that stuff in my bedroom, when I turn around to see the poop, I'll see that I would have done some poop that is more like a sweet potato. So this is what I do. So then that healer had told me that the blood of my mother was going to be required from me. My mother, she had an accident when she returned from her trip in the capital city after my brother had his newborn baby. When she was coming back, my mother, the car that she was traveling in, it was a small Toyota private car. So it had a head-on collision with a double cab. It was a Hilux double cab. And I then found myself, I was with my mother. Before she had died, I was with her. As I was looking at my mother, I saw that the driver, he was already dead because what had happened, the impact was too much. So the whole block of the engine was sitting on top of the driver. The passenger was dead. The people that were close to my mother that were sitting with her at the back seat, they were all dead. My mother, she was still alive, but as for her eye, it had burst open. She was unconscious and conscious at the same time. She kept on whispering. She was saying, "Mama, Mama, oh Mama, where are you? This child that I gave birth to, Mama, has killed me. This boy that I gave birth to has killed me." When my mom was whispering just before she had died, I had that traditional healer telling me to lick the blood that was all over my mother's body. I licked it and everything just disappeared and I was back in the village. Then I received a call from my brothers. They told me that our mother had died in an accident, and her voice, I still hear it. Whenever I am alone, Brother Nashi, I always play loud music because I am scared of hearing my mother's voice over and over again. Then that traditional healer, after we had buried my mother, told me that there was one more ritual that I was supposed to do. I went and I slept on top of my mother's grave. And before I could start making money, I was supposed to return back to the village. What I had to do, Brother Nash, it was truly horrifying because I had to dig up my mother's grave. After digging up my mother's grave, I had to take her bones. I dug up, Brother Nashi. At that time, I had already bought a house, married, and I had bought a car in another town. And when I left that city, and when I left the town, And when I left my place going back to the village, I calculated the distance, and I knew that if I traveled throughout the day, by evening I would have arrived at the village and no one was going to see me. I went straight to the fields where my father's grave, my grandmother and grandfather's grave, and my father's sister's graves are, including my mother's grave. I went there and I started digging. I dug up her grave until I had reached this place where I saw that there was pieces of her coffin. And then, Brother Nashi, when I looked around, I saw that her bones were missing. Up until this day, Brother Nashi, I do not even know where my mother's bones went to. I then closed up her grave and I returned back to my place. These are my rituals, my brother. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that I received from our dear brother, and that was a narration of his story, digging up your own mother's grave just to complete your rituals.